My name is Brian Melendez, and I chair the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. On December 28th, the Republicans at their endorsing convention for Senate District 26 kicked out DFL staff, union members, and local leaders from their endorsing convention. They forced viewers who were simply interested in observing the political proceedings out of a public meeting. The next morning we asked, what are they hiding? Well, now we know. They're hiding their candidate, who repeatedly runs for office on a whim. He's been running for various offices with no rhyme or reason since the 1990s. They're hiding a candidate who couldn't find the time to show up for his job on the city council. He missed 16 out of 58 council meetings in 2008. But worst of all, they're hiding their candidate's racist and homophobic views. So it's no wonder that they were concerned about not letting the public into their endorsing convention. Over the course of the past few years, the GOP candidate in Senate District 26 special election, Mike Parry, has posted appalling comments online, aiming hateful, racist, and homophobic comments at President Obama and others, linking Democrats who passed important hate crime legislation to pedophiles, and then last week after Parry won the GOP endorsement, scrubbing 33 of these hateful comments, which mysteriously disappeared from his Twitter site. Now that this story has garnered statewide attention, Parry has no explanation for his appalling Twitter updates and his record other than to say it wasn't me. Or, no, I'm sorry, he admitted to the racist comments about the president and stood by the sentiment. But what's worse is that Parry has not offered any real comments on his statements, any apology to the Minnesotans or others that he offended, or any evidence that he regrets his actions in trying to cover up the controversy. And if you look at the comments that he made, these are reported by Claire Kennedy in the Waseca County News. When asked about some of these comments, he said, "If it's on my account, I wouldn't know how that got on there. As I recollect, I would have to have read something that would have created me making a statement like that." I'm not even sure what that means. He says, "I don't hide behind the anonymity of having an internet name." And then finally, when asked about some of the scrubbing going on, about the tweets magically disappearing, he said, "I wouldn't know how to erase a tweet. I had a friend help me set it up, and I know I can go to my cell phone and tweet." When asked if someone else had erased the post on his behalf, Parry said there are people who know his password, but otherwise he had, quote, "no clue," unquote. Parry says that he's not afraid of political correctness, but his actions tell a different story. And he needs to answer the questions that these statements have raised, rather than glossing over them with a glib answer and pleading ignorance with technology. Mike Parry is the candidate of the Republican Party of Minnesota, the candidate that they've chosen to represent them in this special election. And if he's the best that they have to offer, then I'm feeling pretty good about the DFL's chances. It's just business as usual for the Republican Party and their candidates, while DFLers continue to work on solving the problems of Minnesota. And I want to wrap up by posing 3 questions to Mike Parry. First of all, were these tweets authorized by you? And if they weren't, who has access to your Twitter account, and why do you let them use it in your name? Second, was the deletion of the posts authorized by you? And if it wasn't, who has access to your Twitter account and why? And why are they making decisions about what statements are being offered to the world in your name? And third and finally, if you're willing to let your Twitter account be used as a mouthpiece in your name for racist and homophobic comments, will you treat a seat in the Minnesota legislature the same way? Thank you all for coming. If you have questions, I'm happy to take them.
Mr. Chairman, in a statement just a few minutes ago, Mr. Parry apologized for the statements and said he made them out of frustration for out-of-control spending in Washington. Does that make a difference to you?
I saw his apology, and what he said is, "I apologize for the past tweets." Now, what does that mean? Because some of these tweets he's denied knowing anything about. Is he apologizing for the ones that he acknowledged? He admitted that he made the one about President Obama, and he apologized for that. Okay, fine. Well, what about the one about linking Democrats to pedophiles? Why were 33 tweets scrubbed? Is he referring to all 33 of them, and does he now admit that they are his? If he does, then that apology means something, but the way the apology is worded, it's vague and ambiguous, and you can't tell what he's talking about.
Can you apologize if, in your words, you're describing him as a racist and homophobic? Is an apology enough for that?
I think it depends on the circumstances. I would want to hear more about why he made the comments. And keep in mind, these comments were only made a year ago. You know, it's not like Strom Thurmond apologizing for views that he held 50 years earlier. I would really like to hear from him what it is that he's apologizing for, other than say, you know, what he has said is kind of the politician's typical apology. I apologize if I said anything that offended anyone. I don't know what that means.
So reading his apology, do you think it should have gone further? Should he have said specifically apologizing for his comments about the president and things like that.
Well, I think it should be clear what it is that he's apologizing for. I'm not going to quibble that he's not apologizing enough. You know, an apology is an apology, and if it's made in sincerity, then it should be accepted and we should move on. But this apology doesn't answer the questions that I've raised. Are those tweets yours? Did you authorize the scrubbing of them? And are you going to treat your seat in the legislature the same way if you get elected? I'd like to hear answers to those questions. If he is making a sincere apology and owning up to his past views and disowning them today, that would satisfy me. But I'd like to hear if that's what he's doing, and it's not clear from his statement that that's what's going on.
Do you have all of the other 31 tweets beyond this one?
I do not. I don't know whether the, Kristen, do you know whether MPP has those?
MPP has them. We have links to some of them. I can send them to you.
Yeah, and actually, Tom, these came from a Minnesota Progressive Project story, which I haven't seen.
Are they similar to this, or what are they like? I mean,
They vary in substance. Some of them are more innocuous. Others, these are the most egregious.
you're throwing out a couple of pretty harsh words here. Racist.
Racist and homophobic. And just based on the two tweets that we've passed out, I'll own those words. Read the exclusive on Mr. O in Newsweek, referring to President Obama. He is a power-hungry, arrogant black man. And I think that that's racist because, all right, if you want to criticize a politician for being power-hungry, that's fair. You want to criticize a politician for being arrogant, that's fair. How is black relevant to the criticism? Why not a power-hungry, arrogant Christian man or power-hungry, arrogant Harvard man? Evidently, Mike Parry thinks that being black has something to do with being power-hungry and arrogant, and yes, I think that's racist. And then he asked, what's with the Dems and pedophiles? And I believe this is referring to the Matthew Shepard Act that got passed into law last year. Well, how do you link Democrats and pedophiles based on hate crimes legislation? To me, that is blatantly homophobic. So yes, I have used some strong words, and that's why I used them. And I don't need any other tweets besides these two to get me to that conclusion.
How much do you think this is going to play out in this election? And do you think voters are reading Twitter? Do you think people would have seen this?
I don't think people would have seen this, which is why I'm holding the press conference. It's great that some bloggers picked up on this and got the news out. It's great that the Waseca County News picked this story up and ran with it. But this is not a story that's just about Senate District 26. This is a story about somebody who is who wants to be one of the players who's going to disentangle this budget crisis that the state is facing. This is somebody who wants to make decisions that affect us all. And the voters in Senate District 26 and the people of Minnesota deserve to know what kind of person is trying to lead them.
I can't help but wonder if your concern is more for the particular candidate who's voicing his views, or the possibility that he's simply a mouthpiece for somebody else.
I have that concern to some extent simply because he's saying that somebody else is using my Twitter account. I don't know how that got on there. Other people have the password to my account. You know, if you're not willing to take responsibility for your own Twitter account, then how can you be trusted to serve in the legislature where you're supposed to be representing the views of the people who elected you? Yes, I do have that concern.
And I don't know if this is for someone else, but normally on a Twitter account you can tell how many people are following. So follow up to her question, do we know how many followers he had when did it say?
I don't know the answer to that, but I mean, you're right. If the Twitter account is still there, and I gather it is because they've only scrubbed some tweets and not others, there'll be a number on there. The number is probably higher today than it was a few days ago, but I don't know what that number is.
I mean, in this apology, he says, I take full responsibility for all mistakes in my past tweets. Isn't that?
Well, he says my past tweets. Which ones are his and which ones aren't? Because he's denied knowing about some of them. And again, like I said, if he is going to say, yes, these were all my tweets, I ordered them taken down from the site, it was a mistake, and I am sorry, you're not going to hear from me about it again. I think that would end the matter. But that's not what he's saying a lot less than that, and I think hoping that people will gloss over this because he said, I'm sorry, but he doesn't say what he's sorry for.
You're not going to hear from you again, Mr. Chairman,
Me, Brian.
specifically on the fact that, on this apology, or on the fact that he potentially made these comments?
I think if he owns up to this, apologizes for it, and says what it is he's apologizing for, I'm not going to keep harping on this issue. I think the point's been made, and it's time to move on. You know, then I'd like to talk about what are his views for the Minnesota legislature. So yes, I am saying that I'm gonna let this issue go if he really is fully apologizing for and acknowledging what he's done. But I haven't heard that, and that's certainly not in the apology that he's issued up to this point. And I do think it is fair to ask him for answers to the questions that I am asking. Who is using your Twitter account? Who ordered those posts deleted, or who arranged for them to be deleted? And is this typical of how you would behave in the legislature? None of those are answered by this half apology. Thank you all very much for coming today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.